Hello, everybody. It's Greg Austin with a Better Official. We've got new information from NFHS for upcoming changes, new rules for 24-25, a first look. Let's get started. Stick around. Hey, so the takeover of the old group that was so resistant to change is obviously complete, as we have fresh ideas coming in, adopting rules from other levels, NFHS embracing some collegiate rules and restrictions, cleaning up some things that are archaic. We've got new rules and restrictions for 2024-25. Let's get started today and take a look at those. So the headliner, as presented by NFHS, is new rules regarding flopping, right? Included in flopping is the embellishment by players, head bobs and things like this. So a new definition and subsequent warning for faking being fouled. Definition is added, 449-1, and a subsequent warning, where you go through the procedure. Coach, that is a warning, put it in the book, etc., has been added to the rules book for the new season. Faking being fouled is defined as when a player simulates being fouled or makes theatrical or exaggerated movements when there is no illegal contact, right? We see players with hair, they do this a lot. They throw the head, their hair goes whoa, 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 whoa. Examples include, but are not limited to, embellishing the impact of incidental contact on block charge plays or field goal attempts, using a head bob to simulate illegal contact, and using any tactic to create an opinion of being fouled to gain an advantage. Now, this is obviously open to broad interpretation, right? It's a common practice in the game, and NFHS says we don't want that to be in the game. The new language also establishes a procedure for officials to issue a team warning on the first instance of faking being fouled. The warning is recorded in the scorebook and reported to the head coach. So similar to a team warning for delay, we would go through the procedure of notifying the coach, putting it in the book, making sure a theatrical production, right? And now this team has been warned. Any subsequent action. So let's say Black 12 goes to the basket and he's not fouled, but he does throws his hands up, etc. We after the play, we stop, we give a warning to the team, and then the next time down, Black 15 does the same thing, right? Then we could, at that point, assess a team technical. It's no longer on the player. Taking part of that draconian, a little bit too much of a penalty. Now it's just a team technical foul. So that's fantastic. And, the language that the committee uses is they're hoping to get the dishonest acts out of the game. It says Billy Strickland, Executive Director of the Alaska School Activities Association, and the chair of the Basketball Rules Committee, right? So Billy's causing all the trouble here. He's instigating these changes. Excellent work, Billy. I appreciate it. Okay, so that's our headliner, right? That flopping rule, warning, team technical. We also have a change. Oh, this is huge. Rule 3-4-4A removes the restriction on only lettering be allowed on the front of the jersey if who cares? This is for uniform manufacturers, right? We know that Rule 3-4, uniform restrictions. Oh, the piping around the letter is not quite the right length or size. Yeah. So this is directed primarily at uniform manufacturers. We obviously need to know the rules for our test taking, but how are we going to handle it in a game, right? That's always the question. So this allows a logo or mascot to be displayed on the front. It must be centered above the number in place of identifying names. This changed. So instead of white 15 and then, the School of Corrections, team name, they can now have a logo or a mascot instead. Yes. Yes. Okay. We're not a fan of Rule 3-4, but that's when rules change. We're going to have to know it for our test. And you know it's going to be on the test. So what's up next? A new note to Rule 9-10-1 and edit to Rule 4-10 allows states to utilize a 35-second shot clock to choose to eliminate the 5-second closely guarded provision while a player dribbles the ball. The closely guarded rules remain in effect while the player is holding the ball, regardless of whether or not the state utilizes a shot clock, right? So this is clearly a rule that is adopted from other levels, right? NCAA men's, there is no closely guarded while dribbling. There's certainly not in the NBA, or I don't know in FIBA. But would we describe this as a positive rules change? Oh, yeah, you betcha. I mean, we love good defense, right? But the theatrics of having to show a count when, is the defender engaged, etc. From an official's point of view, all I could say is I support this. I hope California gets off the schneid and adopts this rules restriction. I also wish they'd go from 35 seconds for boys down to 30 seconds, but NFHS is 35 seconds. Okay, moving on. Next rules change. Rule 1 anytime there's Rule 1, it's huge, clarifies that the use of electronic devices during the game must be limited to recording and tracking stats, reviewing plays, or similar contest-related functions. The use of electronic devices for voice or video recording is prohibited. So, team manager has an iPad on the bench. They should be, deflected passes, rebounds, player stats, this, that, and the other thing. Not, I'm videoing the action. And then we have the video available. Hey, ref. Okay, so that is a change to Rule 1. Again, in practical terms for officials officiating a game, having this knowledge in the back is important. Is this obscure? Yes, this is. Rule 2-11 notes that if multiple scorers are at the scorer's bench, the scorer that is not official is responsible for comparing records with the official scorer, who would then notify a referee immediately of a discrepancy. Okay, I assume we mean the scorer's, the table, right, where our scorer sits. If we have a visiting team with a book, the responsibility goes to the visiting team with the book. They need to compare, right? It's not the responsibility of the home book to say, hey, let's compare. I guess that is what this is describing. This allows the official scorer to remain focused on the gameplay and places the responsibility of comparing scoring information on the auxiliary scorers. Sounds fair? Again, not huge. Rule 3-3-6 states that if bench personnel are beckoned to attend to an injured player, whether they enter the court or not, that's the new part, the player is subject to removal from the game unless the coach requests a timeout. Of course, we know that if we beckon personnel onto the court, that player must, and they in the past, and they come onto the court, then that player would then be required to leave, although the coach would have the opportunity to request a timeout to keep, and if the player was able to play at the end of the timeout, etc. Right? This says if we say, coach, and beckon them on, that player must leave. Whether the coach says, wait, let's leave, he's all right, right? So, as officials in the game, obviously we want to understand that and be patient about beckoning. Don't make it a reflexive action. Allow players to sort things out. It's always a good practice. But if we beckon, coach, right? If we beckon, then that player must leave. Obviously, the timeout restriction could buy them back in. All right. Next up, if a player has bleeding or has blood on the uniform, not an uncommon occurrence, Rule 3-3-7 now allows the player to remain in the game if the issue can be resolved in 20 seconds. Now, obviously, this is a completely borrowed from NCAA, right? Allowing a player to have a situation remedied in a brief time frame, and if they are, they can continue play. So this is new. This is something we're going to have to be aware of. This is something we're going to have to talk to our timer about in a pregame scenario. This is unlike this being a disqualified player scenario where, boom, 15 seconds, man, that's all you get, right? No rigmarole. We may want to be slow in and out of this 20-second interval, but something we're going to have to discuss with timers. And if it can't be resolved in that time frame, coach, I need a sub. Coach could request a timeout. Yes, they could. Next up. Okay. A new exception to Rule 4-6-1 involving basket interference. Oh no! Allows for the net to be contacted and play to continue if the official determines the contact to not affect the try for goal. This sounds like NBA rules coming in. This is fantastic, right? So, of course, basket interference is contacting the basket, while the would-be basket interference contacting the basket while the ball is on or in the basket. That is basket interference. Obviously, contacting the ball in the imaginary cylinder as well. But this refers to when a ball is on or in, a player swipes across and contacts the net, and the net is hanging freely, and it obviously has no impact on the play at all. Technically, in the past, that was a basket interference violation. This rule clarifies that it now becomes a judgment situation. If the official judges that the contacting the net portion of the basket affected the try for goal, then we can award basket interference. But if it does not affect, it would not award a goal, or it would not be assessed basket interference. Okay, I like it. I like it a lot. All right, a collection of changes. These are awesome. To Rules 4-47-5, 10-216, and 10-4-5 allows officials to issue a team warning for delay when a ball is not immediately passed to an official when a whistle sounds. Actually, this is not amazing. This is minutia, unimportant. When a whistle sounds, any subsequent violations now result in a team technical instead of a player technical, right? So ball not being passed to an official immediately. How often is this a thing? Infrequently. But what we see is taking less punitive action off of players and putting them on team, right? This is a great trend because some of the penalty for player technical are very harsh, and they obviously impact a player who has only 5 fouls and and it would be disqualified with 2 technical fouls. So, not a huge deal, but it gives the officials another tool in the tool belt. Hey, team warning for delay. I need you to pass the ball directly to the official. Right? Yeah. Thought that was the change that was interesting, but let's see. 7-1-1 establishes that a player cannot be assisted. Obscure! By a team member or bench personnel outside the boundary line to remain in bounds. Now, let's think this through. What this means is offensive player, offensive player, almost all, I can't imagine, is inbounds. They are in front of the bench area. They have the basketball. They are falling out of bounds, about to lose their balance, and the coach or a teammate props them up. Now, I cannot say I'm familiar with seeing this in the wild. But that change has been made. We cannot assist a player in that fashion. I assume doing so would be a team technical foul. I don't know. 7-1. Or I guess it would be an out-of-bounds violation. Okay. Pre-game violation. Now, this is what I like. Pre-game violations were addressed in a series of changes to Rule 10. If both teams violate provisions listed in Rules 10-1, which is pre-game submission of rosters, name and number of each player at least 10 minutes prior. 10-1-2, after the 10-minute change a designated starter, add a name, basically administrative technical fouls. And 10-2-7, which currently doesn't exist in last year's rules book. In equal numbers, right? So both teams failed to submit their roster prior to 10 minutes. Perfect. Team technical. Start the game with a jump ball. Each team has a foul, right? Super minimum penalty. Just a team foul for the first period. The penalties offset and no free throws are awarded. Additionally, the head coach would not lose privilege of the coaching box. And it's like, wait a minute. The coaching box, how does that come into play? The penalty for dunking or attempting to dunk a dead ball in Rule 10-2-7 no longer requires the coach to lose coaching box privileges, and no personal foul is assessed and now a team technical and not a bench technical. This is fantastic. This is tremendous. We love this, right? So we've got some knucklehead black 12, the pregame dunk, blah, 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 the rim, everybody's woo, right? In the past, that was a technical foul on black 12. They were bench personnel by rule. It is an indirect technical foul on the head coach. But gone is that nonsense. It simply becomes a team technical. We'd start the game with 2 free throws to the offended team. They would get the ball for a division line throw-in, and the team would have a team foul towards bonus in the first period. Yeah, we love that rules change. Love it. Okay, those are the 12 changes that are outlined in the language that has come down from NFHS for 24-25 high school basketball rules changes. We are happy that NFHS is aggressively bringing in rules changes, some of them very significant over the past several years. Shot clock, moving to quarters, 5 fouls, reset, etc. All of the changes this year are more minor. They take pressure off of players, put them more on teams, therefore really diminishing the penalty involved, for these technical foul situations. So we love to see it. That's our first take on these rules. Obviously, the language of the rules hasn't even come out. This is going to be significant changes to the case book over the past couple of years. Right? A lot of changes to the casebook. I wish they'd rewrite the casebook myself. Maybe bring back some obscure plays that have been eliminated because it's now in electronic format, and there's no we don't have to worry about the printing cost, of a pamphlet. So that's it. That's all we got. We're here in the off season. We got our growth going. Yeah. All right. See. Take care, everybody. Have fun in your summer games, and we'll see you next time.